it's just a very talent-rich matchup with a lot of questions on both sides of the ball. But this all is just going to go back to Arch Manning and his ability to handle the environment, the moment, the pressure. I am in the belief that he's going to be ready to go. And I think I've heard a lot of people talk about Arch Manning, dude. We talk about what he's got around him. The storyline just seems to be like, is he ready for the moment? Nobody's talking about Arch Manning's athleticism and the fact that this dude can straight up ball. And if he needs to get out of the pocket and things break down, that's in part of his game that I think is going to be massive in this one. I think Arch is going to be ready. What say you?
Here's where I am on all of it. All right. First of all, Steve Spurrier wasn't wrong when he said, if Arch Manning was this transcendent quarterback, why was he backing up Quinn Ewers? He's not wrong, right? Yeah. That is a legitimate question. Because look what Alabama did in the national championship game when Jalen Hurts wasn't performing. What did they do? They went to their generational guy, Tua Tagovailoa, and they won a national championship. So if Quinn Ewers was a lesser talent than Arch Manning, that's coaching malpractice by Steve Sarkisian if you don't replace him, right? So there is a legitimate question about is Arch this type of quarterback? But your point about his athleticism is cannot be questioned. That's the thing. Like, that's the difference maker. I mean, he can do it with his legs. He's got a good arm. He wasn't I know he was a 5-star plus prospect according to On3. I tend to think that the film, a lot of that had more to do with who he was, his last name being a Manning, than the film and the measurables and things like that as he was coming through as a recruit. Because Eli Manning was more ready-made in my opinion than Arch was. Peyton was even more ready-made. They didn't have recruiting stuff back when Archie was doing things, but Archie is, of the 4 Manning quarterbacks, has a case to be by far the best of the bunch. But we just forget that because it's recency bias and all that kind of stuff. So, if he's got Archie's athleticism, this is going to be a Heisman candidate type of a quarterback because Archie was before his time. He was Michael Vick before Michael Vick. This is Archie who was a rallying cry for Ole Miss people. And to this day, it doesn't matter if you bring up Peyton or Eli to our dads and stuff, Archie's that guy. You know what I mean? So if Archie's more in that mold than the statue that was Eli and Peyton, first of all, he's going to be good from jump, and it's going to allow him to raise his floor because while he's over-processing early and trying to find his way as a passer, those legs are going to help him when things break down. He can just go be a football player. And so I think this game for Arch means nothing then go out there and play your best and rely on the talent around you. Ohio State doesn't have what you have, and that's a good starting place as far as quarterback. I think they're going to be fine eventually, but this is a debut start for Ohio State while Arch Manning has actually gotten some run before and has gotten his feet under him a little bit. So in that way, you look at everything else, and I just think Texas is going to overwhelm Ohio State because, yes, Caleb Downs is the best defensive player in college football. Jeremiah Smith is the best offensive player in football. I love Colin Simmons. I think he and Anthony Hill make for one of the best defensive duos, not just in the SEC. And if it's in the SEC, that means in college football writ large. And the skill players around Arch are going to be critically important, at least to start, including Travion Wisner at running back. So there's a lot to like outside of just Arch and why Texas is a contender. And that's what I don't want to be lost here. It's not to run down Arch or to de-emphasize how important it is for him to be good this year for their national championship hopes and beliefs, talking about Texas. But what makes this Texas team so good is the talent around him. He's got a captain or captain the ship of one of the better rosters in college football, and that's a great starting place for a first-year starter who did get some starts when Quinn went down, but this is now his run. This is his team. He's got to be the one to take it over, but it's not just all Arch. And that athleticism, more in the mold of his grandfather than his uncle's, I think could go a long way, especially early as he gets his feet underneath him as a every game starting quarterback. For Ohio State, it's just about the trigger man because everything else is there. But for this game in particular, Texas is a little ahead of them because of that specific thing. Arch has gotten some run as a quarterback. He does understand the system. He's been in it for a couple years. It's his time now. But this game, both of these teams that are going to play on Saturday, Texas and Ohio State, good as they are not going to be the same teams that they will be in November. What we see of these teams in November, and whoever loses this game, I don't think it means much of anything, because at the end of the day, both of these teams are going to be in contention for the college football playoff, if not firmly in, at worst, 1 or 2 losses. I mean, the only way it gets kind of hairy is if Arch isn't exactly who Texas thinks he is. And then you're talking about a 9-3, 8-4 kind of deal. And that seems unfathomable to me. So this opener is more about the spectacle than the result. Whoever wins, yes, it's a big win. It's a marquee win. It puts you on the best kind of starting foot that you could possibly be on. But I think you're like me, Sudu. Like, this one is more about the spectacle of college football, what you want to see to kick off the college football season, less than where Auburn and Baylor, you got 2 head coaches fighting for their coaching lives right now, and it starts week 1. This is more of a game that, you can just enjoy the spirit of it and understand that these 2 teams, from a starting point, will not be who they are in November, and both of them are contenders to start, but they have the chance to be so much better and so much more formidable by the time the postseason rolls around.
Yeah, it's a 1v3 matchup where obviously Ohio State started out as the favorite to win it, right? So it's certainly intriguing, and it makes you sometimes think, I don't know what's the point of preseason polls, but if they didn't have preseason polls, guys like you and I, well, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So that's
I disagree. We would be able to come up with our own preseason polls, which would mean just as much as the current one, which is not shit. Right. That's where I'm at with it.
I've always felt that way. It's like, just bring it out in week 3 or something.
Because all preseason rankings do is allow for biases in that committee room when they start ranking college football playoff teams.
Exactly.
'Cause when they start doing college football playoff rankings in the middle of the year, I mean, weeks have gone by in college football. A lot of that is based on what they think are aligning with the group think going into the year. I think you get rid of preseason rankings completely. I mean, what is there to rank? Honestly,
exactly. And it favors the blue bloods. That's really what it's about. That's why year after year, obviously we've seen Notre Dame with some success recently, but year after year, no matter how bad Notre Dame was, they'd always be in the top 5, top 10. We saw that with Texas until recently when Texas, quote unquote, came back. So I'm 100% with you. As far as Arch, I also, we got to mention there are some, concerns or at least questions for Ohio State in that defensive front 7. There's some just turnover, right? And we don't know what that's going to look like. But one thing I will say, you mentioned, obviously, why didn't he play over Quinn? I 100% agree. I mean, I'm better
Steve Spurrier, he's the GOAT.
You're right. And a lot of people have asked that question as well. And that's true. I watched Arch Manning come. I was at the Georgia-Texas game when Arch Manning came in, and he had a couple really good plays to start that drive when he stepped in for Quinn Ewers, and everybody went, oh no, this is terrible. This is another Tua situation for Georgia. And ultimately, Georgia's front 7, their defense, their edge rushers got to Arch, and then Quinn Ewers came back into the game. I think a lot of that was probably like processing, just the speed of the game, what the defense was showing them, all those things. But you give a Manning 2 years to prepare for the starting job. Ben, this family's figured it out. They figured out how to play the quarterback position. I 100% think he's going to be ready for the moment. Does that mean it's going to be a win? We'll see. But I am a Arch Manning believer. I think he's totally ready for the moment. Okay.
I'm not saying I'm not, but it's just like, I didn't think you were all the way there as a true believer yet. I really did. Because here's my whole beef.
Yeah.
That's what I had the conversation with Rusty Manziel at SEC Media, JD Pickell, Josh Pate, you name it. I talked to all of them about this. It has nothing to do with Arch. It's just like, how are you already crowning him when he has essentially the same resume as Austin Simmons?
Look, and here's the thing. I think that's a completely different thing. Crowning him and saying, I think he's ready for the moment, completely 2 different things.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah, but it's like when you hear Paul Feinbaum just gushing, right?
Feinbaum has crowned him. Feinbaum is one of, but that's Feinbaum's job. He has to, and then as he builds him up, and the minute Arch does something, guess who's there to take him right down? It's Paul Feinbaum. That's the name of the game.